What is the significance, in your view, of this upcoming visit by the interim Afghan foreign minister to India? What should he expect from India?
A statement by Chuck Hagel, Senator Chuck Hagel, who also served as Secretary of Defense of the US. For years, India has financed trouble for Pakistan inside Afghanistan. If this is the objective of this particular visit by Afghan Taliban minister to India, this is naturally a highly negative objective. My advice to the Taliban regime would be that do not follow the Indian, wrong suggestions. It will be, you are fully entitled to develop ties with any country. Do that, but not the expense of your neighbors, which is including, of course, Pakistan.
Why Afghanistan, despite these tangible, lucrative incentives, is still looking at New Delhi instead of behaving itself and meeting the expectations and concerns of Islamabad and Beijing?
They came to Kabul because they negotiated a deal with the United States, and the United States, under its own public opinion, withdrew from Afghanistan. Had it not withdrawn from Afghanistan, today again, they would have been right there fighting with Pakistan's and begging Pakistan for support. Now, with this mistaken belief, they believe that if we can show force, by leveraging TTP and other terrorist entities against Pakistan and perhaps against other neighbors like Iran and others, they will benefit. No, they will not.
Viewers, very warm welcome to another episode of V News English program Perspectives, in which we bring before you the most insightful perspectives from some of the leading thought leaders on some of the most important issues that the world faces today. Uh, a major issue that the world continues to worry about is the lingering challenge of terrorism. And several international experts, including a recent UN report, warned that Afghanistan is again becoming a hotbed for terrorism, and outfits of global and regional concern are again, using Afghanistan as its base. But in this context, we are also witnessing the Kabul government is reaching out to a number of countries for their own legitimacy and expanding their influence and bilateral relations. Recently, Russia extended its recognition, but more interestingly, the interim foreign minister of Afghanistan is expected to undertake a week-long visit to New Delhi in a couple of days. So, in order to discuss its significance, we are joined by a leading authority of Pakistani diplomatic service, a former foreign secretary, Aizaz Chaudhry Saab. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Syed Muhammad Ali Saab.
Mr. Chaudhry, what is the significance, in your view, of this upcoming visit by the interim Afghan foreign minister to India? What should he expect from India?
Thank you very much. Let me, at the outset, say that I was reading a few reports from writers and some of the Indian newspapers and sites. And I noticed that they were essentially spelling out three reasons for this newly found bonhomie between India and Afghanistan's Taliban regime. The first was being mentioned that India would like to continue to invest in the people of Afghanistan. The second reason that was being cited was that India would like to find alternative ways to reach to Central Asia via Afghanistan, bypassing Pakistan. And the third reason that was being cited was that for strategic considerations, Indo-Afghan collaboration has helped them deal with India's The word they had used was enemies. All right. Now it is the last one actually that merits more elaboration, because one cannot have any exception to the first two, which is fine. Let them do what they need to do as long as it helps the people of Afghanistan. Then my mind shifted back to a book called My Enemy's Enemy. It was written by Avinash Paliwal. And that gentleman had, documentary evidence to prove that Indian intelligence and Afghan intelligence had collaborated to stir trouble in Balochistan, quote unquote. Then I also saw Ehsanullah Ehsan, former spokesman of the Taliban government, in 2017 gave a statement confirming that Indian intelligence and Afghan intelligence NDS had collaborated to support cross border terrorist attacks in Pakistan. I also read a statement by Chuck Hagel, Senator Chuck Hagel, who also served as Secretary of Defense of the US from 2013 to 15. In 2011, he had made a statement that for years, India has financed trouble for Pakistan inside Afghanistan. So, if this is the objective of this particular visit by Afghan Taliban minister to India, this is naturally a highly negative objective, that they should use this newly formed affection with each other, despite years of dislike that India had displayed for the Taliban, for decades long dislike. If this is the objective, naturally, it is highly counterproductive to the goal of connectivity, regional cooperation, benefit of Afghanistan. And I would strongly advise them not to go that route, because Afghanistan, the Taliban may be, thinking that perhaps by letting TTP bother Pakistan, by linking up to Afghanistan to create a double squeeze against Pakistan, and they can leverage this to get some additional benefits for Afghanistan. They are sadly mistaken. They must realize that the ties between the people of Afghanistan and people of Pakistan are centuries old, and they have benefited from Pakistani ports for all their commercial and trading needs. Even today, many of the Afghan traders sit in the Peshawar and place orders, and without any customs duties, the goods go from Pakistani soil. Sometimes they are even dumped into Pakistani soil, causing economic injury to Pakistan. And yet, Pakistan believes that no, Afghanistan, being landlocked state, should have should have full access to Pakistani ports. So, my advice to the Taliban regime would be that do not follow the Indian, wrong suggestions. It will be, you are fully entitled to develop ties with any country. Do that, but not the expense of your neighbors, which is including, of course, Pakistan.
I actually wanted to ask a follow-up question based on your very insightful analysis and the last comment that Afghanistan should not be used to cause harm to any of its neighbors, including Pakistan. But when you use the term neighbors, I think perhaps all its neighbors have some sort of concern from Afghanistan. We are expecting another important meeting in Moscow in which Iran, Pakistan, Russia, and China are expected to attend. And you know very well that both terrorism and drugs trade are viewed unanimously as a concern emanating from Afghanistan. So, what is your expectation in the recent changing geopolitical scenario? Because President Trump also expressed that he wants US to get the Bagram base back, and he also hinted that it's an hour away from the nuclear sites of China. whereas their ties with Iran have also deteriorated recently because they have expelled almost 1 million Afghans from their soil recently. So, in this context, if they want to have a land route through Afghanistan to Central Asia, you would also recall that US also imposed heavy sanctions on Indian companies doing business with Iran as well. So how will India likely, achieve all that through Afghanistan?
Well, it will honestly be as difficult as India had tried through Chabaha. And, Americans have initially given them some permission and then finally have withdrawn that permission. So, what actually India could have done and should have done was to normalize its relations with Pakistan, and then it would have had everything that it wanted in normal, because Pakistan has already expended considerable political capital on north south connectivity. And if India had behaved as a civilized normal state, perhaps east west connectivity could have come about at some point in time. But India has adopted a very hegemonic attitude, and that approach of using neighbors of Pakistan to sort of squeeze Pakistan from all sides. Is it worked? If far from isolating Pakistan, actually India is now up against a reality whereby Pakistan is having positive, constructive relations with almost every country or every major part of the world. I know it may be a disappointment to people sitting in Delhi, but they should also have some introspection because of their own policy. I give you one example. When Pakistan and China decided to extend CPAC to Afghanistan, that would have benefited the people of Afghanistan. Why would India really oppose? And Italy, actually, this particular offer instigated greater contacts between the Indian officials and the Taliban officials.
But let me ask you a follow up question. This is a very important point that you're making. That even if India, like you rightly pointed out, the 23th century old Chanakya thought of my enemy, my enemy's enemy is my friend, and it is trying to lure Afghanistan to be used against Pakistan. But in view of the very tangible and substantive and lucrative economic incentives that China and Pakistan are offering to Kabul administration in the form of extension of CPEC, that can usher in billions of dollars of investment, and a spin-off would be sort of mainstreaming and legitimacy as well. And thirdly, you know very well the idea of linking Uzbekistan with Pakistan through Afghanistan rail link is also an evidence that Pakistan is interested in enduring peaceful connectivity projects that will improve the quality of life of average Afghans as well. Why Afghanistan, despite these tangible lucrative incentives, is still looking at New Delhi instead of behaving itself and meeting the expectations and concerns of Islamabad and Beijing?
My sense, Muhammad Ali Syed, that the Taliban have a mistaken belief that they won Kabul by the power of the gun. No, they didn't. They came to Kabul because they negotiated a deal with the United States, and the United States, under its own public opinion, withdrew from Afghanistan. Had it not withdrawn from Afghanistan, today again they would have been right there fighting with Pakistan's and begging Pakistan for support. Now, with this mistaken belief, they believe that if we can show force, by leveraging TTP and other terrorist entities against Pakistan and perhaps against other neighbors like Iran and others, they will benefit. No, they will not. I think the sooner they shed this flawed notion, the better it would be. For them, for the people of Afghanistan, the best bet is Pakistan. because the people of Pakistan and people of Afghanistan have had centuries old contacts and ties of culture and faith and almost everything else. And therefore, I think the Taliban government is best advised not to leverage their relations with India against Pakistan. That will not serve their interests and it will not make any difference. Instead, they should listen to the Pakistani, repeated and consistent approaches to them that let's behave as normal civilized nations. It is for Taliban's sake that Pakistan was, earned the ill repute from all across the world. We want is that people of Afghanistan should live peacefully, independently as a sovereign country. That's it. We don't expect them anything else. But if you leverage anything else against Pakistan, it will not work. Pakistan knows how to defend itself and Pakistan will defend itself. That's a message that we must give to Taliban. And while at the same time, I have constantly advised through these talks, such as this one, that we should never disconnect from Afghanistan. Maintain dialogue at every level. Do not follow the example of India, which has completely disconnected from Pakistan for the past 9.5 years. Don't do that. Keep the channels of contact open with Afghanistan because the people of Afghanistan and people of Pakistan are connected by centuries of ties. And that reality must not change. But the Taliban need to learn this lesson and will give a firm message. I'm sure that is happening at multiple levels.
Okay, Excellency, my last question is any thoughts on the upcoming meeting in Moscow on Afghanistan, in which Russia, China, and Iran are also expected to participate besides Pakistan?
I think the common message that is going out to the Taliban is that honor the commitments that you have made. All the three commitments that they had made to 2020 agreement with the United States, which is that it should be an inclusive governance setup. That means other minorities should also be taken on board. Two, respect the right of girls to education and of women to work. And three, do not allow Afghanistan to become a bastion of terrorist entities again. I think the Taliban ought to respect that constant message from all government. They all want to deal with them. We have no problem. Anyone who is controlling Kabul, we have been dealing with them. We will deal with them. But they got to start behaving not as insurgents. They are not insurgents anymore. They are a government and they must behave as a government. I think that will be the message that must come out from that meeting that you are referring to.
Excellency, thank you so much for joining us at a short notice and sparing time from your valuable commitments. I'm grateful for your very insightful thoughts on a very complex and critical regional security issue. Viewers, I hope you enjoyed this discussion and found it interesting and informative. So keep watching this space and don't forget to share your feedback and comments. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on the program.